Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone doing? This is G, and it is the week of March 11th. We are recording the week of March 11th. This week, we will go through the main things, even though the chart, well, usually does look kind of busy because I try to do my homework ahead of time so I can understand the overall themes that are happening in the background, because many of the big planets that move slow are always shaping and forming and telling like another story, right? And so many times we just focus on Mars and Venus and Mercury and the moon and the sun, and those back players, those bigger, slower moving planets are just because they're so slow, they are still kind of telling the same story. So the same themes. But there's a lot of energy in Aquarius now, and we are going to have some planets moving into a new sign. So we start by pulling up the chart. That's how it begins. By the way, if you don't have your own chart, because truly the best way to figure out how this is going to be in your life as you're listening to these things is to better understand how this chart matches up with your natal chart. If you're lost, that's fine. Get your birth digits to me so we can get your chart to you, because that is the fastest way. That is the first step in better understanding all of this stuff. And if that's even too much, then just chill, sit back, get a drink. Some say my voice puts them right to sleep. However, whatever. Just enjoy the time that you're here and know that this is nothing more than just understanding the frequencies, the energies, the vibrations of the world that we live in. And many times it affects our mood, it affects our health, it affects how we're thinking, if we're sleeping, if the mind's either super busy or feeling on the lazy side. You know how sometimes you're all get up and go-y and you want to learn, or you want to start something new, or you feel like you just got to break out and get away, or sometimes it's not even about breaking out and getting away as in I need to do my own thing, but away like as in I need to escape. There's a difference, right? Yeah. And so all these things, all the planets, all the energy, all the signs, they all explain that. All right. Now, before I get all preachy, because I've already feel like I've preached way too damn much already. March 11th is the week that we're going to be looking at. And so what I'm going to do is just show you a quick view of the big chart, and then I'm going to back it up and I'm just going to talk about it. Okay. And then we'll go into some of the details, because there's a lot. If I back this up, you can see just by looking at the shapes that I've drawn in. You see you could see a square, right? A red square in the chart. You see it? Let me get my blue angle here, my little blue triangle or my little arrow. Yeah, you can see this square, right? So this square, we have been in this square. This is not new. But it's important to always remember that it's still there because the numbers are pretty tight. It's a cardinal grand cross, it's called. Anytime you see a square, it's a cross. Because if I were to draw the oppositions in here, the two oppositions that meeting at the same degrees, 14 and 15 degrees, right, in cardinal signs, cardinal, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, Aries. Yeah, I should have started at Aries. That's the first cardinal sign. Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. So you see that great square, the great cardinal cross. And so that's the backstory. It's been that way. The nodes, the north and the south node, are at 15 degrees, and they are squaring up with Sirius and Vega. So what does this mean? Well, if we understand Aries, myself, my body, my individuality, my rights; Cancer, home, family, mom, but can literally be housing; Libra, business partnerships, but also significant one-on-one relationship, as in marriage, right? But it can be, again, a lot like business and doing one-on-one consultations. And then Capricorn, my goals, what I'm working on towards my future. This is also corporations, big businesses, and governments. Very sustaining long-term material, tangible energy. It wants the long-term financial security. And the sign opposite, Cancer, wants the emotional security, right? It wants to connect with its tribe, nurturing and sensitive, and mom energy, right? Mom fed you when you were a child. Some were lucky enough to have been breastfed, right? The bond that is created between mother and child in breastfeeding, and mom being the one who gives comfort, who brings that comfort, you see, and home and family, right? So just those themes right there, right? When we look at those themes, we can say, I saw the big square, I saw the big grand cross, the big T square thing. Well, cross, I should say, but it's anyway, the great cardinal cross. So there's stress and tension when you see that cross. It's stress and tension, corporations, governments, businesses, that legislative energy, the lawyer energy, the Libra stuff I talked about when I said business partnerships. Well, that's the scales of justice. That's the checks and, that's the equality and the fairness stuff going on. And that's learning how to compromise and how to negotiate. And oh my God, in the United States government, we have been seeing the best demonstrations, I think, in my lifetime for what you don't want to be like if you're going into a marriage. This is a great example of how to ruin a partnership. Like, we'll never see such wonderful examples, I don't think, ever again, that we're seeing within the bodies of government right now, that cannot get on the same page, that cannot find ways to compromise, to move things forward and to get things done. And that's this big freaking great cross that we're seeing, cardinal great cross. Now, behind the scenes, that's what's happening, okay? And it's powerful, it's strong. So there could be major moves that have happened, and there have been. We saw major power plays happening like the second week of February. Matter of fact, yeah, second week of February. I'm still in that week actually as I'm recording this for March. Lots of power moves happened this week. And so the judicial branch of government, lawyers, judges, the justice system, the judiciary, we're seeing a lot of that going on. So you always think Jupiter when I talk about that, but you also think Libra because it's literally legislation, but it's people who are lawyers. Lawyers have been in the news, especially for anybody who follows along with the United States stuff. Like, lawyers is where it's at here in the US, apparently. Matter of fact, whose channel? Bruce Fumi. Oh man, he's gonna shit, what's Bruce's channel's name? Put it down below. I can't, something Scotland tours, because that's what he does. But he's gone global. He travels and goes global with it now. But he still puts up videos, which is great because I've learned unbelievable amounts of United States history by listening to his history lessons. Oh my God. So anyway, he's a comedian, and so he'll make cracks on the US all the time about how we love lawyers, or at least our society is shaped and formed and molded, and it's all about the courtroom sagas, and he's right. He's absolutely right. Like, that's what it comes down to. Who knows the law better? And that's, this week was a really good example of that. All the courtroom cases and big names, right? Big names. So this isn't about to get political, because I'm more about unity. I'm more about unifying, because at the end of the day, we're all one. And we're just trying to sort out through how are we individualistic and how are we uniquely beautiful and wonderful and loved while still being one, right? That's really what we're just trying to get at. And so it's difficult. And we're combing through that. And boy, is it ugly. So that big great cross I just showed you, that big red square in the cardinal energy. Cardinal's where stuff kicks off. We begin something with cardinal, okay? So we think of the Aries, the freedoms, the justice, my body, my right, my choice, my independent actions of my body and freedoms. And we think of Cancer energy, the homes, the housing market, the lack of homes, the lack of affordable housing, the lack of housing in general, the housing shortage, but home and family and tribe, and wanting to connect with, like, okay, who is my tribe, right? And the big split and division, the chasm that grew from the pandemic, and seeing the great division, not only just within beliefs, possibly religious beliefs, but also um, the beliefs of how we navigated the waters through the pandemic and the choices that people made, right? And everybody's saying, well, what you believe is good for you isn't good for me, and vice versa. And that's pretty much all that we agreed upon, right? That's pretty much, I think that's the reality of it. But it's Cancer energy. And so it was emotional. And so families and chasms and families. And then we went to the Libra energy. The courtroom already talked about that. But Capricorn is boss energy. It's corporations, so it's jobs, but it's jobs as in like the jobs report and the company's hiring and laying off. It's government, so government jobs. It's all that energy. So that's the stress and the tension in the background. Okay. And if you know where those cardinal signs in your chart, you might be noticing that friction and that stress and that tension. And it's not to be dismissed because it's real. There's fixed stars part of this. And when I say fixed stars, it means they barely moved, hence the word fixed, which means you have those fixed stars probably at the same degrees. Like your Vega is likely at 14, 15 degrees. Your Sirius in Cancer is likely at, what did I say, 13, 14 degrees? Yeah, likely. So we all have something there, right? And so the nodes, the North and the South node in Aries and Libra, right now at 15, they always move backwards unless they're going forward, which they do from time to time because that's normal. They do a dance, a back and a forward thing. That square is pretty prevalent, I think, for all of us. And so for some of us, it's about my future and thinking about my future because Capricorn is like, but I'm trying to build this for my future. But there's this stress and this tension, it feels like I'm being prevented, like I'm being pulled back into the past in some way. Cancer energy, the past, the history, the emotions, family and home. And that Capricorn stuff is the goals, the ambitions, and it's like father energy. It's I'm the boss of your life. I'm the corporate, I'm the CEO type of energy. That's your Capricorn stuff. You're the boss of your own life, right? So now we're going to pull this up and we're going to take a quick peek here. Well, we'll probably do more than a quick peek, but we're going to look at some dates to see what else we got to look at. So let's get to the first part of the week, the 11th. Here it is, March 11th. I've got a few planets. You'll see I've got Venus drawn in twice. I got Venus there and I got Venus there because Venus is going to make a move and it happens right at the beginning of the week. All right. So we've got our Venus 29 degrees Aquarius. Okay. That's a critical degree. Aquarius can be shocks and surprises. All right. This is group energy, Aquarius energy. So it can be friends. It's also like social causes, but it's tech and technology. Tech and technology. Now, remember, Venus can be business in terms of we think Libra and partnerships, but also Venus can also be the money in the bank. Your money, it can be banking. So we think of like global banking, the global banking system, because Aquarius energy tends to be like those global systems. I always mention like like the World Health Organization and NATO and like the space station, like things where countries come together and they work together towards a common goal of some sort. And so Venus at 29 degrees, possibly some monetary readjustments or at least news because Mercury here is in a trine. Now, this is all on the same day. Mercury's in a trine with all the fire signs, right? Yep, because Mercury's actually in Aries. I have it trining Aries. Well, Mercury's in Aries, so it's trining the fire, which is Saggy and Leo. And that's what's missing. I didn't draw Leo energy in here. There we go. So we got Leo energy there. And Mercury is in the early degrees. On this day, she's at 2 degrees. So we think of initiating when we think of those 0 degrees, but the 2 degrees, based on what kind of astrology you look at, I've got a person in the star room who's been kind of sharing some of their knowledge with a different form of astrology. It kind of reminds me, well, I'll just say this, at 2 degrees, that would be considered Taurus energy, wouldn't it? Right. Why? Because the second house, number 2, is Taurus energy. So it's interesting because that would kind of then be Venus. Well, these two are siblings and they're always talking. Yeah, they're always talking. And if this is at 2, which means it's close to 0 still, This is at 29 in the same day because she's at 29, like 59 on the 11th. On the same day, Venus then pulls into Pisces energy, which means it'll be Venus at 0 degrees in Pisces. So if Venus is at 0 degrees in Pisces, that means these two are going to be communicating more regularly. As long as they're at the matching degrees, they are like, they don't even talk on the phone at this point. They start saying, you know what? We need to meet up. We need to be together. We need to have a face to face. We need to be sitting at the table and having a conversation. So let's go take a look real quick and see what that looks like. Venus, I'll draw her in here. We'll say Venus is here and she gets here in Pisces you see her right there at 29, right? Yep. So it's a critical degree at 29, and normally something is surprising, something usually shocking. Remember, we think airlines too when we think Aquarius, and technology and mass transportation. What are some keywords I didn't mention? I'm sure there's a ton for Aquarius energy. Go ahead and put them in the comments below. There's no wrong answer unless you're just putting in something that's got nothing to do with astrology. Put in if you don't know. You could even do that. We have lots of people who read the comments and who comment who are very smart and who could help answer questions that you have. And the group that's here is usually all about learning. They're learners and teachers, the people that come here. So never be afraid to ask. You see the Mercury right over here? 2 degrees in Aries. Right. So this Venus on the same day moves to 0 degrees. So they're close to each other. They're going to be matching the degrees right now. Right. This Mercury moves way faster than Venus, but these guys are siblings, so they're always talking anyway. Like that's just how they roll. They're always talking, right? So they're talking, and also on this day, even before Venus makes her move, the moon is in Aries, so we feel very fired up because it's Aries. Aries can be combative. However, this moon is showing its conjunct Salacia. Salacia reminds me, well, the software will tell you it's the consort of Neptune, so kind of the icy Neptune waters, so it can be murky vision, like I'm not seeing something clearly. And the moon being there, I might be a little emotional, right? Or I might be seeing myself not as clearly, right? Moon, my emotions, and family, and Salacia. They're conjunct at 8 degrees. It doesn't last long. It's a short conjunction, but we are mixing the home energy together because it's moon, and mom energy, female, feminine energy, the rights of females' bodies. And it's not just about feminine rights, I should say, um, because of the world that we're in, and because of so much um, beautiful diversification that we have, like the rainbow that we have is amazing. And we are, I think it's a time where people are, other than recognizing their uniqueness, there's also those who it just rubs them the wrong way for whatever reason. And so there's the rights of our rights based upon who we are and possibly the care for our own bodies. And that brings up healthcare. Yeah, the healthcare of our bodies. And so emotions possibly risen at this time. But remember, the Aries energy is fire. And so it's in a nice trine with some other things that we have in fire. And we have the Arabic lot of success in Leo at 0. We also have a Vulcan energy here, which is powerful. It's forging metals with fire, and it's a worker though. It's not something that's super easy. It's I'm working at this. It's heat and pressure when we talk Vulcan energy, and that's at 2 degrees and 55 minutes in fire. So if I go over to Saggy, what do we got in the low degrees? Look, the 2 Venuses are at 4 and Pallas Athena at 7. Yeah. So creative thinker, the judicial system, because we got to remember Jupiter anytime we see Saggy. This can also be airline energy and traveling and vacation, but religion and spirituality and beliefs, and the judicial system, the justices, the courtroom, legislation, all that stuff. The 2 Venuses and Pallas Athena. Remember Pallas Athena, feminine energy, and she is smart. She is the strategist. Okay, so that's support because it's a trine, which means it means something will easily occur. What will that thing be? That is specific to your chart. You follow? Find out where your fire signs are located. And if you really want someone to take a look deeper, remember every Saturday, 9 p.m. in the time zone, Central Standard Time Zone, I'm live. You get in the queue, make sure your digits are to me a couple of days before the live stream. Email me down below. Digits are down there, or the email address is down there. Get your full digits to me. That does include your birth location and your birth time. And we can pull your chart up and take a look. All right. So we got Venus going into Pisces, 0 degrees. One thing I'm going to add about that, an additional thing I want to add about that is remember what Venus is all about, desire. So her desires become more Piscean. Movies, music, performances, sound, Calgon Take Me Away, Kumbaya, spirituality, right? Spiritual. Venus might want to escape. She might want to get into a good fantasy, a good book, a good make believe thing or story of some sort, something where the harsh realities of the world, where she doesn't have to feel those things because it's Pisces and that's what Pisces is really good at. So, meditation is a thing as well with Venus. But yeah, light me some candles. The other thing we'll be cautious of with a Venus in Pisces, Venus is our money in the bank. And so we're just making sure that if we're making any purchases that we're just, maybe double checking things. Do I really need that? Or we're just not just being a little bit more cautious because we might not be real clear seeing because so much when it comes to Pisces is all about how I feel. It's really the sponge of the zodiac. And with Venus there, all of a sudden her desires and Pisces sensitivities, it's almost as though it takes precedent. It takes precedent. It becomes like the most important thing. Yeah. So as long as we're aware of that during this time, right? And again, Venus is in Pisces. It's gonna be there, darn near 30 days. And so we have to always just be aware of that energy. And it might mean we need more sleep. It might mean more relaxation. That's a very good possibility. Now, the other thing we're going to talk about is Saturn. This takes us to actually, it's the same day, Saturn. Same day, Saturn is in a strong opposition with Juno. So let's go take a look. Juno's over here in Virgo. Remember Virgo? Yep. Day to day routines, it's domestic energy. Juno right there, the wife of Jupiter. She's pulled away from Black Moon Lilith. Did I say Lilith? It's Black Moon Lilith with an L. We got Virgo energy, which is jobs, which is health. So there could be like, a jobs report type thing happening, especially because it's a Saturn opposition exactly to this Juno. Let's go down and take a look at Saturn in Pisces. Saturn in Pisces is also at 11. You see that? Yep, I got that red line right there so I didn't forget it or I wouldn't forget it. There's Saturn at 11. So we think about Saturn, how it can slow things down. Saturn is normally the one who says, these are the rules and the regulations. I'm the boss. You can't do that unless you've done this first. Usually we think paperwork and I got to jump through the hoops whenever we're thinking about Saturn and government and Capricorn, right? And so typically we think, oh, it's a slowdown with something. It could be. It's rules, it's structures. Saturn's there to build for the long term. So at the exact opposition of Juno and Venus being at the 29 degrees, remember everything I've said so far, it's all happened on Monday. That doesn't mean we might not be hearing about those things the Friday before, because Saturn's not an especially fast mover, and neither is Juno. This is just kind of where Venus gets to this 29 degrees. So if there's anything left to hear about, there might be jobs reports, and maybe there'll be higher unemployment reports coming in. Again, I'm not an economist, so I don't know when those reports come in, but I do know that when it comes to the interest rates in the banking and Jerome Powell setting those rates. I do know that paying attention to um, the jobs report is a big deal. So here we are, the 12th, the birth of Mercury I've written down. And why is that? Well, let's go take a peek at Mercury. We know Mercury's in Aries. I just talked about it, right? But the difference is that on the very next day, Mercury gets to 4 degrees because Mercury is a fast mover, which makes Mercury, technically, Mercury and the sun are already 10 degrees apart here. Okay. Mercury the next day, even this day, like I just said, they're already 10 degrees separation. And so, but once you have that Mercury all the way ahead of the sun, I know a lot of people have been waiting for this because our mind is a little bit more clear, a little bit more sharper, because Mercury is ahead of the sun, and it's ahead of the sun by a minimum of 10 degrees. So it's not being weakened by being within 10 degrees of the sun. And normally we get information earlier. Our mind is fast. We learn quicker. Just remember with the learning quickness that Mercury does already all by itself, it's going to be very impulsive at this time. Now, if you've already had a plan this whole time, then this is the great let's start this now energy, because Aries energy says it's time to start something new. I'm starting it. I'm the leader. I'm heading it off. It's great energy to let's begin. Thankfully, the next day, the 14th, the moon would have already been gone. I'm sorry, the 12th, the moon would have already moved, which is why I didn't mention the Mercury and the sun and the 10 degree separation on the 11th. The 12th, the moon is no longer on Salacia. You follow? So for me, it seemed to make more sense. And then plus the moon will have moved off of Chiron by then as well. So I feel good about Mercury and the birth of Mercury. And it's like Mercury's got a new plan. It's got a plan of action, and it's going to take it. It's going to move forward with it. And it's like all systems go, even though there's a lot of that friction and stress and tension I already described. So it's a new beginning, but it's just not off to a smooth start. Yep, that's what it is, because there's still a lot of earth in that chart. Here we go to the 15th, and we've got the sun in Pisces. I've got some Z's written down here because it's sleepy time energy. The sun has already been in Pisces, but it's now the sun conjunct Hygeia. So Hygeia, our health report card, is conjunct the sun exactly. So we're feeling this on the 13th, the 14th, the 15th. We're feeling this. We might absolutely feel a decrease in our energy. We might need more sleep. Whenever the sun is in Pisces, you should expect you might need more sleep, or you might be sleeping longer. Or if you weren't having good sleep, you might find you're able to actually get some sleep now. That could be beneficial. Okay, I got the 18th on this chart drawn up. Let's move over to there. But before I get to there, because it's Mars, before we get to that, I want to show you the Earth. I want you to see all the Earth energy. 13, 14, 15, 16 of Earth, we go to Capricorn. We've got stuff at 8, 9, 10, lots of stuff at 10, 15, Vega, something at 20 even. See that red line there? Yeah. So this energy, this earthy energy, even though it's in red, the red is representing that great cross energy I talked about right at the beginning of the video, okay? This earth is trining all the Taurus earth. Saw the low degrees and some stuff in the teens, and then look, in Taurus, again, even though it is Pandora's box at 2 degrees, yikes. And then we have Jupiter at 13. Jupiter is confident. It likes peace when it's in Taurus, but it is also the judicial system and the justices, foreigners, foreign lands, immigration, emigration. We have White Moon Lilith. We have the vertex point conjunct Uranus. I did not make a mention to that because vertex moves fast, but this would only be for the 11th. I already talked about the 11th a lot, but just so you know that on the time on this chart, vertex is conjunct Uranus, which is shocks and surprises. But yeah, this is in the morning for my time zone, 8:43 a.m. for where I live. It's only a thing if you've got some other stuff at those degrees. Now let's get to Mars for the 18th. We got Mars over here drawn up in Aquarius. So at the beginning of the week, Mars was like at 20 degrees. You already saw that. But now we get to the end of the week. We get to that weekend. We get to the 16th, the 17th, and the 18th. Mars is like 25, 26, and now 27 degrees. And that's a thing because that would be Mars at 25, 26, 27 in a fixed sign in Aquarius at those degrees. You see? So we think of the fixed energy because it's already passed up Uranus energy, right? Yeah. It already passed up the Uranus square. I talked about that in last week's video. But now, this Mars at this 25, 26, 27 degrees is going to be in a tight opposition with anything in Leo at 25, 26, 27 degrees. All right. And you're going to be feeling that. And that's the weekend. That's the 18th, 17th, 18th, and 19th going into the following week, that Monday even. And I know a lot of us have our own natal regulus at, depending upon when you were born, your natal regulus can be at you can have a regulus at 27 degrees, 26, 28, 29. Yeah. So Mars opposing Regulus. Regulus is typically kind of someone who, it's that point in our chart where we feel like we're the king of the jungle, literally. So if you have it on a planet in your chart, or if you have it on a house cuspline, or both, this would be a thing because Mars is at the opposition. Thankfully, Mars is quick. So it might kind of bring out some of the shocking and surprising actions, Mars and Aquarius, opposing Regulus. Okay. And I can also think of social media and streaming because we think of Aquarius energy. When we go and we look at the Mars in Aquarius, mass transportation, Mars and Aquarius, mass transportation. So then that would end this off with you looking in your chart in the fixed signs. So that would be Taurus energy, 25, 26, 27. We do have Algo there at 26. Everybody has usually Algo at, 25, 26. It's a slow mover. We have fixed star Algo there, which likely means it's Mars. It's Mars against all these fixed stars. So, this would be quite personal if you have planets there. If you don't worry about it unless you have a house cuspline. But it's a fixed square. And then that also means you have to look over at Scorpio. Do we have anything in there in those late degrees? And thankfully, well, actually we do. We have parts here. Look at this. We got something at 27 in Scorpio. Oh, yikes. Let's check that out. What is the Scorpio at 27? You know what? I don't have it on this chart. Well, how is that possible? Oh, well, that's fascinating. You know why? It's an Arabic lot. It's something that moves quickly. So, because remember, it's an Arabic lot. And the way those are calculated, there's a mathematical equation. It's not just some, hey, I was born at this time. It's an equation based on the locations of the planets, of the other planets in the sky. Right. So it's not a quick learn. But Mars then squaring that Scorpio at 26, 27, 25, 26, 27, 28, and Algo energy, you see, and then that strong opposition to the Leo stuff. Other than that, you see all the blue I have in this chart? There's a lot of support in the Earth, right? There's still a lot of support with Vega and Jupiter. Jupiter starting to trine Vega. Jupiter starting, there's still a lot of stabilizing energy, but it's still some stress and some tension. Overall, still the stress and tension. Jupiter is still a factor because now we've got a lot of planets in Pisces, right? We've got Neptune and the Sun and now Venus all in Pisces. And remember, other than the planet Neptune, you got to think Jupiter. We got to think Jupiter. We think the justices. We think politics, politicians, movie stars, music, performances, and performers, commercials, TV ads, and the political season. And matter of fact, this March is, we've got lots of primaries going on. I know for the state I live in, our primary is it the next day in this chart? I'm going to have to look that up. All right. So that wraps this up. I hope that I hope it's been helpful. You got any questions? Comment below. I didn't believe I was doing that like that. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.